Hello, folks, and welcome in to the second episode of the Skins Cast. This is a program by me, Chris Garrison, who happens to be a Washington Redskins fanatic. And it's a program that's designed to give information, views, and opinions. That's it. That's all we do here. Talk about the Redskins. Man, I'm still in shock over Sunday. Sorry I missed last week, the Dallas game. A lot going on last week. Just didn't have time to record a show. And it's probably good I didn't. That game, I was so ill. I don't think it would have been fit for TV. It was just, man, that was a bad game. It's just a game that made me ill. I thought the Redskins played hard on both sides of the ball. It just a frustrating game. But, man, a completely different feeling this week. And with that, we'll just kind of dive right in. Again, as with most weeks, a lot of Redskin fans make this about Kirk Cousins. So I guess that's where we'll start, is on the offensive side of the football. The Redskins rolled into Seattle with four new offensive linemen. Four. Let that sink in. We rolled in with Jamison Crowder out and Jordan Reed out. And we rolled in with Niles Paul also out. I hope nobody really thought this was going to be a great offensive display in this game. You don't go into Seattle. One does not simply go into Seattle and dominate with four new offensive linemen. My Lord of the Rings reference there. Okay, I'm 45 years old. Been a Redskin fan my entire life. Watched my first Redskin game back in 1979. Started pulling for them on a week-by-week basis in 81. And the reason I say that is I'm not going to be, good old days guy. Back in the good old days, I remember this, I remember that. But I've had some time to think about this football game and think about what transpired in it. And this game reminded me a lot of what you saw the Redskins play in the late 80s, early 90s, against teams like the Giants and the Eagles. These were going to be games that, no matter how good the Redskins' offense was going into those games, it was going to be a street fight. And it was going to come down to a handful of plays. It was going to come down to who made fewer mistakes. And the stat lines were not going to be pretty at all. And the Redskins still found ways to gut out wins in a lot of those. And you always came away from those a little bit like, well, this wasn't what we usually do. But there was just a feeling of satisfaction that, we manned up against a physical football team and we gutted out a win. And the further away I get from this Seattle game, the more I feel like that. I'm not going to bore you with a ton of stats, simply because there's so much information out on Twitter that you can look at. There's so much information on the web. You can get on the All-22. You draw your own inferences of what you see on the film and all this stuff. So I'm not going to go crazy on a lot of down and distance type stats. But what I will say is this. The Washington Redskins in this game, their quarterback got hurried 17 times, hit 11, sacked 6. And I can't remember how many times he got knocked down. Kirk Cousins is a man, folks. He is. He took a beating and found a way to scratch 10 points out, which there were times where I didn't think that was going to happen. We had no run game. We had no semblance of a run game. We did not win many man-on-man battles. We weren't able to scheme up a running game in this game, and I don't really blame Jay Gruden for that. You're just in a situation where you're playing a group of guys on the other side of the football that are better than the five guys as a whole that you've put up there. And Kirk Cousins found a way to scratch 10 points out and not make the big mistake. And I think that's really, to me, the key in the run-up to that final drive. He was charged with a fumble. That wasn't him, folks. I'm not sure what Samaje Perine was doing with his closed hands. I don't know what he thought was happening during that play. But there was no pocket for Cousins to put the football in. So anyway, that was not on Cousins, in my opinion, but it will get charged to Cousins. But beyond that, Kirk Cousins managed this football game very, very well for what he had to work with. And I understand there's going to be people say, oh, man, you're in the Kirk hive. You're just, you found a way to praise the guy again. No, I'm not. I'm not. I'm just going by what you saw Sunday. You give this thing the eye test. That is not a defense. The kind of pressure he was under, that is not conducive to big numbers. And yet he still found a way. Before those two big passes, he was still 19 out of 29 for 179 yards. He found a way, like I said, to scratch out 10 points and survive and be in a position to win the football game at the end. That's all you can ask in this situation, folks. You can't expect – we've gotten so used to Madden-type numbers. We've gotten spoiled by guys like Manning and Brady and Breeze to where 350-yard games are ho-hum. 350, 4-touchdown games. That's how we view quarterbacks now. And that's not – it's great to see the game pushed to this level, but it's also sad because a lot of fans don't appreciate a lot of the little things. And this game makes you appreciate little things. Little things like just controlling a snap. Little things like seeing your kicker make your rookie signed off the street kicker make a 38-yard field goal that gives you a 10-2 lead. But I just felt like Kirk Cousins managed this football game even up until that final drive. The frustrating thing is, again, you look on Twitter, Instagram, whatever, you see fans saying, oh, man, the guy was garbage. He wasn't garbage. I don't know what you watched. You're welcome to interpret what you watched any way you want to, but I respectfully disagree if you think that guy was garbage on Sunday. I want to talk a little bit about the offensive line. If you want to see garbage, you could probably say they were garbage, but I love these guys. They did not play a great game collectively, but, dude, these guys were fighting, as Joe Gibbs said, they were fighting their guts out. That you did not see dudes just giving up. You saw guys scrapping. And, again, a guy like Michael Bennett's just that much better than Roulier right now. He's that much better than Catalina. That scheme was Bobby Wagner, that much better. The safety that Kirk Cousins took, it was a six-man rush. He had 6 in to protect. Kirk Cousins reads it to the right as he's beginning to turn to the left. He thinks everything's covered. He trusts what he saw. He was rewarded for that trust by getting smacked by Bobby Wagner and face planted in the end zone. But yet he still found a way to trust. I mean, the 23-yard pass to Ryan Grant, unbelievable. I mean, the dude Cousins got obliterated after that play, but still stood in there, made a big throw. But this O-line is learning. These guys are learning, and the upside to a game like this and the game like we saw in Dallas is some of these dudes are going to stick. Chase Roulier is going to be a member of this Redskin football team, hopefully for the next few years. Tyler Catalina is getting a baptism by fire, but this is how you learn. This is how you grow. The upside is we're getting an opportunity to develop some depth so that if this happens again, hopefully not. We'll never have this situation again. But if we do, the guys that you'll be putting in have had more battles under their belt. So there is a silver lining to this. The other silver lining is that Kirk Cousins survived this game. Real happy about that. Now we come to the final drive. When they took over at the 30-yard line with 1:30 and 2 timeouts to go, I felt somewhere between – I was really hopeful, but I was braced for disappointment. We'd given up the late touchdown, and I just thought it was such a tall order to go back down the field on the way this defense was playing. First pass incomplete. You're thinking, all right, let's just do something. Let's get the initial first down. Let's get this drive underway. When he hits the 30-yard pass to Brian Quick, I was in shock. And it's not because, he's doing what people say he never did, what people say he never does, and that is push the ball down the field. But when you watch that play, man, he had literally one shot to make that throw, and he put it in the perfect spot. Now, I hear a lot of people complaining, well, no, he didn't because Quick had to turn his body. Yes, Quick had to turn his body. It was a double move, but if Cousins throws that ball to the inside, Cam Chancellor, number one, probably makes a play on the football, or even if Quick does somehow make the catch, I don't think there's any way Chancellor's going to knock him into the next week. So to put that ball on the spot on his outside shoulder was the only throw that's going to complete that pass. And Quick did a beautiful job adjusting. But it was such a perfect throw, he had time to adjust. It was a well-run route, a well-thrown ball. Quick comes down, makes the play. Now, there should have been a 15-yard helmet-to-helmet contact penalty. I'm not a whiner when it comes to refs, but they whiffed on that one. So that sets up the next play. So I'm thinking, okay, let's we're down at the 40-yard line, 38-yard line, something like that. Now we can use some of maybe the quick game. We can get into the offense here, maybe find Vernon Davis in the seam on some of those passes, but he had hurt his hand. Anyway, that was just my thought process. So when Cousins dropped back and Cousins drops back, he has time. And when he throws that ball, I was just in shock. I was like, we don't do this. What is going on? What universe did I just fall into? And Dotson, I thought it was a great pass. Number one, he puts it in a place that only Josh Dotson, if there's a play to be made, Dotson's the only guy that's going to do it. And to see Dotson, he had a little burst there to catch up to that football. This dude's got special written all over him. And to see him cradle that football, roll into the end zone, man, I was stunned. I was speechless. I don't even think I yelled. I was just in disbelief. And then, of course, your next thought is, okay, we've got 59 seconds. We're going to score too fast. But I don't worry about stuff like that. You got to score a touchdown. When you score, you don't want to sit there and be at fourth down. Oh, well, we used 30 seconds. We used 35 seconds or 40 seconds. But it's fourth down. So I was tickled they put it in on the first drive, on the first play after the catch. Wow, 17-14 at that point. And we'll get into the defense in just a minute. But if for all you out there who said this is what Kirk Cousins can't do, he did that Sunday night. He did it. He took the team on his back, made two massive plays, and pulled out the win, and did it under almost impossible circumstances. Now, we've seen Kirk three different times. This is his thing. The Redskins are 4-4. In three of their wins, Kirk Cousins has had to make those types of plays to win the football game. Did it against the Rams, did it against the 49ers, put 10 points against the 49ers in the fourth quarter. So don't come at me with this guy can't be clutch. He shows you just about everything people say he can't do or won't do. There's a point in the season that he does do it. So I thought it was a great game. I thought it was a gritty game. I thought game balls, obviously, Josh Dotson, Brian Quick had 3 catches. Really liked seeing him. He got the start, actually, but I liked seeing him on the field. Vernon Davis continues to be a wonder to me. This guy continues to make big plays. He's averaging almost 17 yards a catch, and he's impactful. He's not just a one-catch guy. He's coming in catching 3 and 4 passes a game. Chris Thompson was largely silent, which I'm not surprised at. The Seahawks are so good at assignment football, and they're so quick on their second level, linebacking-wise. I never really felt like this was going to be a huge day for Chris. Thought it was going to be a tough matchup to try to get him in space and get big plays there. So I wasn't surprised Chris Thompson wasn't a bigger part or didn't have bigger stats in this game. Where do we go from here offensively? A lot depends on who's healthy. You just kind of hold your breath and hope that maybe this week, maybe Nsekhe can come back. Maybe Brandon Sheriff could come back. Don't know what Spencer Long's situation is going to be. So right now we're in a holding pattern there. I am in the camp that Trent Williams should shut it down for the rest of the year. I think he just needs to go ahead and do it. Let's get that surgery done and let's get him ready for next year. I love what he's trying to do, but I'm scared to death that we're gonna watch him do a lot more damage to that knee than what's happened right now. So I continue to I have a love affair right now with Morgan Moses. This dude is tough as nails. Played a solid football game again. Folks, again, this was never going to be a game that was going to be pretty at all. Chris Cooley this morning on his show said, man, this game is like college economics when the professor tells you, look, folks, nobody's getting an A in this class. If you make an 80, then you need to walk away feeling like you got an A. Well, if you look at what if you judge the Redskins by third down conversions, by yardage, by rush yards, you're probably going to say, man, this was a D game. This wasn't a D game. This was an A game. This was an A game. They responded. They took advantage. They did not make the massive error. Defensively, I'm going to run out of superlatives for these guys. I think the best way to dive into it is just by the defensive line, linebackers, and secondary. This defensive line in this game was lights out. Stacey McGee had by far his best game of the season, and we needed it. We don't have Jonathan Allen. We didn't have Matt Ioannidis. We needed somebody in in that rotation in the middle to step up and play big, and Stacey McGee did. I mean, huge. Ziggy Hood, very solid game. And then, boom, our boy Terrell McClain makes maybe the play of the game out of all the plays of the game. Gets the big sack of Russell Wilson that sets up what should have been, well, we'll get to that in a minute, the way the clock got mismanaged by the league in that one. My point is this. We saw those three guys in the middle, and Anthony Lanier. Anthony Lanier is a guy, Tom Sula said before the game, this guy is getting better every snap. And you saw that. This guy, all four of those guys played huge. They got interior pressure on Russell Wilson. This defensive line, Russell Wilson had 25 pressures in this game, second most in his career. This is an offense that is predicated on Russell Wilson dictating to the defense how he moves. In other words, they run a lot of boots, they run a lot of actions to try to get him on the perimeter, let him make a play downfield. The Redskins essentially took that away and forced him on the run. And it had a huge effect on his accuracy and had a huge effect on this football game. Junior Gillette by far had his best game as a Redskin. His rushes were impactful. He bent the edge. He set the tackle up beautifully on his inside moves. This guy chased Russell Wilson all game long. Another huge game from Ryan Kerrigan. Did not have a sack, but again, on his side of the ball, he rushed, he bent the edge, he drew a couple of holding penalties, and there could have been 6 more holding penalties against the Seahawks. He just didn't get called. This defensive line dominated. They dominated. Linebacking-wise, Zach Brown, I don't know. When the Redskins sit down, when the front office sits down and they start going over players, I don't know how Zach Brown isn't near the top of the list of getting a deal worked out with. They need this guy long-term. The guy's a rocket. His job on spying Russell Wilson, he did a masterful job in that. Chased him, got a sack on a rollout. He was initially like it's going to be called for a hit out of bounds, roughing the passer, but thankfully the official overruled the other one, because he did tackle him 3 yards before he got out of bounds. But Zach Brown's impact on this defense is unbelievable. Will Compton played the game of his life. And if you listened to the show last year and you listened to some of the stuff that we talked about in the offseason, I was not a massive Will Compton fan. I love the guy. There's so many reasons to love Will Compton, but I just felt like we had just reached our plateau with him. He was not, he's not a big physical guy. I felt like last year he overran plays. He wasn't good in coverage. I just felt like we'd hit a wall with him. But this game, and this is why I want to talk about Will a little bit, to those who maybe wonder if coaching does make a difference, this is a beautiful example. Will Compton, to me, is a perfect example of a guy that is in a much better situation coaching-wise and system-wise than he was the past 2 years. He looked like he knew exactly where he was supposed to be. He knew exactly what was coming. His run fits were solid. He wasn't chasing plays. He was there, he was there in positions to make plays. Very easily could have had 3 interceptions in this football game. The guy played lights out. He played great assignment football, was where he was supposed to be when he was supposed to be there. That says a lot about him. There was a lot of reasons for Will Compton paying his head. He was not involved very much at all in this defense until the last couple of weeks. Instead, he continues to be a leader, continues to play hard, and he's being put in much better situations by this coaching staff. Great job, Will Compton. Secondary. Oh, my goodness. Josh Norman, folks, I don't know. All you need to know about Josh Norman is that 3rd and 1 when he stopped Rawls. I just don't think there's any other corner in the game right now that plays with the kind of physicality that he plays with and the kind of anger he plays with. He did a great job in coverage. He was part of the blown play on the last touchdown to Baldwin. He missed the jam, obviously. That was a negative play. But everywhere else, you just can't complain. Bashaud Breeland on the other side, I thought played just as well. This guy, the only thing that's holding Bashaud Breeland back, I think, from close to elite level status are turnovers. He dropped another interception in this game. If he could just get that part of his game right, man, he's Pro Bowl caliber. We saw Quentin Dunbar early in the game. They didn't start Breeland. They brought him in gradually because he had hurt the groin and he has the bum knee. I thought Dunny, when he was in there, played a smart football game. I get asked who Quentin Dunbar reminds me of. He reminds me a lot of Martin Mayhew back in the early 90s. Remember the Redskins' last Super Bowl team in 91. Martin played opposite of Darrell Green, and he wasn't the fastest guy. He wasn't the biggest guy, but he was a dude that just constantly, you could not outfight him. And you may beat him on one play, but you weren't going to beat him on that same play for the rest of the game. He just kept coming at you. And I love the way Dunbar plays. Another guy I was wrong about in the offseason. Kendall Fuller, folks, that interception, thing of beauty. This guy is playing with a confidence right now that is so far out of the roof. And again, think back to coaching. Torian Gray has these guys in the positions they're supposed to be in. These guys are communicating with each other. They understand what defenses they're playing, where they're supposed to be. Again, the interception was fine, but you just look at the way he played last year, and then obviously he was hurt. He's a rookie, and you are going to get growth between the first and second year. This dude is really turning in. I think he's already in that top 5 of slot corners right now, I think. Leads the team with 3 interceptions. I thought it was just a masterful football game for him. Safety. I love DJ Swearinger. There's no way you can overstate his impact to this defense. The Redskins over the years have signed guys to the defense, and, you want them to be leaders. They come in and they said all the right things. They're going to set the tone. This guy said it, and he's lived it. He's doing it. His interception on that 2-point conversion, and by the way, he was in position several times. He had several pass defenses, was in position several times to make a play on the football. And one of my pet peeves from last year is how many times in critical situations were guys anywhere near in position to make a play on a football to impact the football game. Completely different dynamic this year, completely different. And so much of that is because of what DJ Swearinger is doing. He communicates his interception on the 2-point conversion, and do not discount how important that was. Because had the Seahawks converted that 2-point conversion, it's a 10-10 football game instead of a 10-8 football game. That touchdown to Doug Baldwin late in the game turns it into a 17-10 football game, and the Redskins are playing desperately for a tie. So keeping them out of the end zone on that 2-point conversion was massive. But if you'll notice, if you go back and watch the All-22, he signals to Zach Brown. He knows what's coming, and he peels off his original coverage, and he is in a spot that Russell Wilson did not expect him to be in. He throws it, and then you look at the effort, because he understood what he's fighting for. This wasn't a guy that caught the ball and went nuts. Hey, man, I picked a pass off, big play, yeah. No. He knew, hey, I've got a shot to house this. I've got a shot to take this all the way. And he ends up lateraling it, getting it back from Josh Norman. I mean, I just love the fight, and I love the awareness in that play. This defense, to me, I mean, they kept the Redskins in this football game. I mean, there's no question. And I think to hold the Seattle Seahawks to 2 points through three full quarters of football on the road with an offense that was up against the wall like they were is phenomenal. Then they did give up 2 fourth-quarter touchdowns, and they did give up the late one, which you hated. But you knew at some point you keep giving Russell Wilson the football. At some point, historically, you know this guy's going to make plays. He wears you out defensively. So I think for this team to do that on the level they did was amazing. And for those of you, I have not forgotten D. Hall, folks. I wanted to save him for last, because this is a guy that is pressed into service. Monte Nicholson, the guy that usually starts opposite from DJ Swearinger, was active but injured. Could not play, could not dress, because we'd already used up all our inactive slots. So in goes 33-year-old D'Angelo Hall. And he just proceeds to play a masterful football game. 5 tackles, a couple of pass defenses, the biggest of which was the Hail Mary at the end of the game. I want to set this play up. The Redskins, we talked a little bit before, Terrell McClain had sacked Russell Wilson, and I think at that point there were like 11 seconds to go. The Seattle Seahawks get up, and at this point the clock stops. The clock operator stopped the clock, thinking that Russell Wilson had thrown the football. Now, I don't know if he was told. I don't know if there was a signal on the field by an official to stop the clock. But at that point, the clock stops with 4 seconds to go. The clock should have run. I mean, the clock runs on a sack. Now, a lot of people have said, why wasn't there a 10-second runoff after the replay review? There wasn't a 10-second runoff because it was not reversed. The play was upheld. Had the play been reversed, then there would have been a 10-second runoff and the game would have been over, as my understanding of the rule. But the game did resume. The referee did pick it up at 4 seconds, so it left them one extra play they shouldn't have gotten. D. Hall did exactly what you would expect a veteran leader to do, and that is he got deeper than the Seahawks' deepest guy. The Seahawks had 2 guys in perfect position to make a play. And the thing that scared me to death is Russell Wilson is such a good deep ball thrower. He gets good air under the ball, which gave his guys time to get into the end zone and get themselves in position. And up goes D. Hall, and he high points it along with the wide receiver. If D. Hall mistimes his jump, that pass maybe is complete. And I don't know, but D. Hall played that perfectly. I just want to take some time to acknowledge what this guy did in this football game. We're talking about a fella that did not play for 14 months. And I was not alone in the offseason wondering would the Redskins even be able to carry him on the roster. He's the kind of guy that you wanted on the roster because of his leadership and because of what he means to the younger guys and the team in general. But would they be able to fit it? And I'm so grateful they did, because I don't know how many dudes in that position could come in and have the kind of impact he had. So hats off to D. Hall. This was the kind of performance that, we would watch Darryl Green have in his later years, and you just think, how does this guy do it? How does he do it? So this defense, to me, Greg Minuski had a great scheme. They played a lot of too high zone in this game. I think it frustrated Russell Wilson. He was, in the first half especially, it just seemed like he was trying to just throw the ball up. He was frustrated. And a lot of that had to do with our pressure packages. We've had 2 games this year, folks, one against the Raiders, now against the Seahawks, where we've seen this defense be dominant. And I think the question going forward now is, these guys can do this. I'm excited about what this defense can be. I hope that I think we've got an opportunity over these next 8 games to really do something special, especially defensively. Special teams wise, D Hall again returned punts, and he didn't have any impactful returns, but he had no turnovers. This guy hasn't seen the field in 14 months, and he played in poor conditions and did a great job. Nick Rose again made the extra point, made the field goal. That's all you can ask of the kid. Tressway had an up and down game, but overall, the special teams did not have any gaffes in this game. They didn't give Seattle anything. I'm trying to, I guess in closing, I'm trying to think of a way or how to frame this game. Again, was this the most improbable win the Redskins have ever had? I don't think anything will top the 87 Cowboy game, the replacement game. But I think this would definitely be number 2 in terms of what the Redskins came into this game not having versus the kind of team they were playing. Just did not. I just don't think anybody gave them a shot. And in closing, I just want to give a nod to these coaches. Last week there was a lot of questioning of Jay Gruden. A lot of people wondering, hey, is this guy right for this job? And there's going to be times I get aggravated with the run game. I don't think Jay Gruden is a great run game coach. But one thing you've got to say for this guy is he's got this locker room. Those dudes in that locker room believe him. They believe in him. They believe in what he's doing. And for him to be able to get this team to focus on what's there, what they've got, and what they have to do, I think was incredibly impressive. Let's don't worry about what we don't have. Let's don't worry about who's not on the field. Let's go out there and win with what we have. And that's what they did. The Minnesota game coming up, just very, very quickly, we have another stiff test. Minnesota's defense is just as good, if not better, than Seattle's. Again, my thoughts on the game will depend on who's out there. I do worry, can Kirk take another pounding like that? I don't know. I hope we can just tread water. But what's so big about this win is you've gotten a win, and you've given some of these guys that are hurt another week to get better. So if we can start getting some of these guys in and still stay in touch with the playoff picture, I think we got a chance to be in good shape. Big key in these next 2 games is let's don't waste this win. Let's don't let this win just be a great upset and a one-time, feel-good moment. I hope we're able to build on it. And let's go out there, let's knock some heads at Minnesota, and then let's go out and see what we can do against the Saints. Let's be 6-4 through 10 games. I'll be happy if we're 5-5. But I feel like there's a shot we could be 6-4. But anyway, that's all I've got right now on this game. Again, it was just almost too good for words. Proud to see these guys fight the way they did. I think we have a good football team. We do. We've got good guys in the building. And I'm excited about the rest of the year. I mean, this win gives us our season back. Hail to the Redskins, and go Clemson Tigers!
You like that? You like that?